Okay, here we go. Another part. So where are we at? Okay, we're in Vermilion. So yeah, this one is sped up, I believe, because it's going to be a long one. It's taking on the entire SSN and getting that out of the way, getting some levels in, because once we get the cut, the SSN leaves the harbour forever and you can't do it again. So we're going to go on board and fight all the trainers and collect all the little random items. In hindsight, I could probably just leave this as a grindy part. I don't think I take on Surge. I don't even have time to take on Surge in the same part, so I don't know if there's ever been one that's skippable. It's probably this. Here we go. So yeah, this I never understand a lot of these. The SSN's weird, right? Because the game is based on Gen 1, and Gen 1 was when there was no other Pokemon yet, and so it talks about traveling around the world, right? Yet everyone has Pokemon that like are just from Kanto. I mean, this guy explicitly says, I only traveling companions are these Pokemon I caught from around the world, but like Growliths are here. I guess there are other places too, but it's a bit weird. What I figured is, I was thinking actually, because it was a remake, what they should have done is actually had the SSN have a mixture of Pokemon from, I guess, like the Ruby and Sapphire games, because they were the Gen 3 games. And that would have been a bit more variety and stuff. But then I guess it would have had to expand the Pokedex, and it'd be frustrating having an entry in the Pokedex and then you couldn't catch that Pokemon and fill it out. So I guess it would annoy people. But it is weird how I've travelled all over the world and I have guys from just outside the docks here, you know? Kind of weird. But it is what it is. But yeah, what's also weird is, I think if I remember right, he just has 2 Growliths. So it's nice that he's even got, not only has he got like Pokemon available here and that, he's just only got 2, and they're the same. So like he could have, they're dogs as well. He could have just bought these from a pet shop. I think he's just lying. I think he's just fucking lying. I think we figured it out, guys. He's a lying motherfucker. But yeah, Roar is wicked annoying. I never really understand how their AI works when they use it. I think, like, for example, now that level 9 bat was out, he would attack it. Easy kill, but we're not going to let him get away with it. It's fine. You know, the only other thing that's annoying about Roar is sometimes you're like trying to level because of these level requirements, you know. You don't want to over level. So like there's a worry that if he roars out someone who's about to ding and you don't want him to, then it's fucked you over. But he did it so many times then that he spread the X so thin that it didn't really affect anything. But Roar's also annoying on wild Pokemon, because if they roar at you, like I guess that counts as your first encounter and you then haven't caught a Pokemon. So you've got to like lead with Sleep Powder. But it seems to be, annoyingly, to put him to sleep to avoid Roar and stuff seems to be a grass thing, and it seems to generally be fire Pokemon that have Roar. So it's like, yeah, I find it kind of irritating personally. Like, it's a bad combination. But yeah, it's so handy having that. It's weird how they... I was thinking about this as a general thing, right? This is something I wanted to mention. In Gen 1, I believe there's a guy outside of one of the dorms, and he's like, yeah, this is your room, because you have like tickets to the boat, so you've got a room like on the boat. Makes sense. And it's like your own cabin. That's neat. But in this one, it's like you find a random woman's room, and she's like, oh, you remind me of my younger sibling. And she's like, sleep, and she just watches you sleep in her bed. It's something weird about that. And I don't know why they changed that. I feel like it's maybe like because it's weird to have a 10-year-old kid just like traveling on a boat and having their own room and stuff. But it's weirder to like have a stranger let you sleep in their bed. And plus, like, the whole point of Pokemon is it's like a power fantasy of a 10-year-old. They go on an adventure, like, and no parents, no supervision, and doing dangerous shit and traveling the world. Like, that's the whole point. And to then be like, oh, no, you've got to be supervised sometimes, is like, it's just completely antithetical to that. The other one is on later gens, you have to wear a fucking helmet on your bicycle. On Gen 1, you never wore a helmet on your bike. Like, I don't know what they're trying to do there. Like, if it was something like, oh, Japan actually had a ton of like children dead on bicycles, so it's like a thing they're trying to address, that would be like, I'd be sympathetic to that. But it's like, again, most kids I fucking know wouldn't wear a helmet if they didn't have to. Because especially they're packing light, they're running around with just a backpack, and you're going to have this fucking it's already a bit of a stretch that you've got this collapsible bicycle or whatever the fuck, but a collapsible fast moving bicycle. But like, yeah, the idea that you can like carrying this fucking great helmet around with all your Pokeballs and stuff is just obnoxious. And Sword and Shield even go further. You have a uniform, like you have a separate biking outfit, which looks dorky as shit. And it's like, just let me ride the fucking bike in my regular threads, you know? I think you have knee pads and shit. It's just ridiculous. It's just like, it turns me into one of those like, oh, fucking nanny state, the culture of safety does more harm than good, which I don't even like believe really. But something about, you know, it's a video game. If you're going to give me a power fantasy, don't restrict it with real world restriction. It's so stupid. I don't know. It irritates the piss out of me, as I'm sure you can tell. Like, just be consistent with it. It's one of the reasons I like Gen 1. It really does feel kind of wild. I don't like sanitizing things. If you're going to like make a new thing and it's kind of inherently clean from the beginning, that's okay. But I don't think people should sanitize old stuff. Like, there's a famous scene on these games where there's an old man outside the grass gym, which is full of women, and he's all like laughing and saying like, "Oh, this gym's great. It's full of women." So he's just like a pervy dude looking through the window, right? And that's adds flavor to the world. There's creeps in the world, right? In later gens, he says, "Oh, it's full of strong trainers." Oh, he just like, you know, appreciates them for the sport, but it just takes some depth out of the world. Oh, so there's no perverts in the Pokemon world then. Well, you know, if it is that bad, just don't put it in there in the first place. I'm not like, it's weird because it puts you in a weird position where you're arguing for the existence of perverts in something that like objectifies women, and you don't want that, but it's like, well, don't put it in the first place. And yeah, it's like, I don't know, it's a broader thing about, I mean, there's the general thing of not wanting censorship, which I'm down with, but like, this thing that's topical right now with that Pogue song where they say the bundle of sticks word for, you know, the slur about homosexuals, which is actually used to refer to a woman and apparently used to mean that or something before it became a homophobic slur. But anyway, it's in this song, Fairy Tale of New York, very popular, topical right now with Christmas coming up. And they're deciding to finally start censoring it, and then there's been some backlash against it. But what I find weird about the premise of censorship is whether it's worth doing or not, but like if you believe that the thing is actually poisonous and bad in its existence, then like it kind of like either A, makes the people who made it bad by association, like, or by, you know, they're like guilty of it, you know, they're guilty of that crime, and then you shouldn't be materially rewarding these bad people by playing their music and I guess getting them some revenue, right, or popularity or whatever, you know, or just that is the original version of the song is bad because it does this bad thing. Don't play the song then. Don't find the right way to do the wrong thing, because it's still there. Like, you're still promoting the song that has the bad thing in it by playing the censored version of the song. Like, if the thing is bad, don't do it. Like, it's just like hiding the evidence of it. It's like, it's like being, you know, if you were friends with someone who's a wife beater and then you just look away when he hits his wife, that's not like, he's still doing it. Or you know, has done it. It's a weird fucking, I don't get it. Like, that's not the way my morality works. You either, like, maybe it sounds like I'm being kind of absolutist, like it's all or nothing, but like, that's the point. I'm erring on nothing. Like, you know, it's a fucking song, and like, listen to it or don't because it's bad. But like, I just think censorship is a half measure that not only is wrong in terms of just because censorship is generally bad, but like, I just don't think ideologically or morally it makes sense to censor a bad thing. Rather, it just makes more sense to just accept the bad thing or not play it. Looney Tunes, I think it's Looney Tunes, famously, some of their characters like Speedy Gonzales, right, like the Mexican rat thing that's really fast. There's like characters in there that are like super stereotypical, like lazy Mexicans, I think. I haven't actually barely seen any of the clips of that show, but like there was a whole thing with that, with any stereotypes really. And I think what they do now is they play, I think on like Cartoon Network, they play those cartoons in their completely original, because they actually stopped playing it for a while, and Mexican people, this is the power of representation. Even if it's negative, people want to be represented. I think people complained like, hey, where's the Mexican rat gone? Like, I want to see the Mexican rat. And they actually asked for it back. And so what they started doing, instead of just getting rid of it, they didn't censor it or edit it. This is the key difference, because it sounds like I'm talking about the same thing as the Pogue song. Oh, you know, they didn't get rid of it, they censored it. No, they didn't censor it. They put a disclaimer at the beginning warning you, like, hey, yeah, these are really old and they have some kind of fucked up stereotypes that we don't think are cool, but, you know, we think you can understand the context of they're from their time and we don't do that anymore, but, you know, there's still okay cartoons in other ways, and you can filter it. You know, they just leave it up to you what you want to do. Now, I guess the only difference is with radio play, you can, in theory, tune in to the radio like partway through the song and hear the slur being said. And it's like you weren't prepared. The disclaimer at the beginning doesn't help you because there's people tuning in and out all day as they start their commutes and then their commutes and stuff, or change stations. So I accept it's different, but yeah, I would rather go the Looney Tunes route. I mean, play it after the Watershed, you know? Play the normal one after 9 p.m. and do a disclaimer, and, you know, because the idea that just seeing bad things, like, poisons you is stupid. Like, because I don't understand how you'll... Like, they delete episodes of shows that have blackface, right? Even if it's the context of the show is that, like, there's an arsehole character doing a dickish thing, which is to black up, right? They'll ban those episodes, which, you know, completely breaks the continuity of, like, missing an episode of the show, and you've paid for the show, and there's fucking... They took some of the content away. It's kind of fucked up. But, like, again, especially if, like, they did it with Community, and that wasn't written that long ago. Like, either Dan Harmon is... If context doesn't mitigate it, and it's just bad, then the people who did it are bad, especially if it's recent. And yet, so don't play their show. Don't just cut the offensive material out. It doesn't make sense. It drives me crazy, to be honest. But yeah, Seedling is too OP for all these water Pokemon on it. Going back to Pokemon for a minute. I had something else to say on the topic, actually, but it's eluded me now. Yeah, I was talking about the idea of bad things kind of poisoning you by exposure to them. It's like, yeah, here we go. So you might take an episode of a blackface show out, but you can have an entire film about the Nazis. And no one's like, oh, well, they're inherently, obviously, through and through bad, which they are. Seeing them as bad, don't make it like Schindler's List. Like, why can you show the Nazis just... If you can't show a thing without promoting the thing, how does that apply? That means you can't show anything bad. That's like half of human experience. You know, things are either good or bad, broadly speaking. I know that's a simplification, but if broadly speaking things are good or bad, by saying you can't show bad things, you cannot show like half of the human experience, the human story. You know, your narratives are, you can't have a bad guy in a movie. Like, it doesn't make sense. And we accept that that's not true with like things like showing Nazis, as long as it's not like a pro-Nazi movie, which you'd never see in Hollywood. But like, not, you know, yeah, you might get like right-leaning movies. I mean, they're all capitalist, but yeah, it's just silly to me. I don't know. The whole thing's dumb. Why can we show Nazis, but we can't show... Why can we can show Nazis being bad, which we implicitly understand about without having to be told even in the movie. Or, you know, even a movie about, like, the Congo, like a massacre, genocides. You can show movies about these horrible, horrible things, but you can't show a show that's ostensibly about regular life and then have one episode where, like, one character does a bad thing without that episode being taken down. Like, Community having one scene of blackface is less bad than just showing Nazis being Nazis. Like, I don't get it. I guess the argument would be that the Schindler's List type movies, they're there to like educate you, whereas this was just for laughs. But again, it's laughs at a bad person's expense in a lot of these situations. I know you can go the other way and you can get the wrong kind of laugh. Dave Chappelle famously left the Chappelle Show because I've heard two different accounts of it, but he was doing a skit and I think like a white cameraman or crew member laughed, but he thought he was laughing not at them, we're making light of stereotypes, but he was laughing at the stereotype. He was laughing like, haha, yeah, black people are like that kind of thing. And that was when Dave Chappelle was like, fuck this, I'm out, and went to Africa. That's like, it's probably more complicated decision-making process than that, but that's how the story gets told. So you can get like, yeah, it being for laughs, yeah, I guess you could get a bad laugh, but I think you have to respect the audience's intelligence. Yeah, I don't know. Be interesting to see if you can hear my noisy fucking roommate, because I'll actually finally say something to him. He's been driving me crazy, but I'm being too English and polite. Either cowardly or polite, or both. But if it's like affecting my audio, I'll be like, dude, I'm trying to record stuff, and like can hear you screaming in the background. It's completely unnecessary. Just fucking dial it down. It will actually give me the motivation to say something, because he doesn't know I'm recording a Pokemon Let's Play that's completely unimportant. For all he knows, I'm making my living doing this. I don't know. But yeah. Yeah, they want you to see shrinks now by a video call, but it's like I'm absolutely not doing that. Like, you know, I'll just play ROM hacks instead, which are a poisonous mixture of novelty and nostalgia that keeps you hooked instead of actually addressing my problems. I think that's the way to go. I once criticised a girl I was hanging out with. I didn't criticise her. I mean, I guess I was, but I wasn't trying to. I felt like I was being, you know, you're doing that bullshit where you're just giving someone a hard time because you care, but it's like actually just you're being shitty. But like, yeah, I was saying that like she couldn't just self-medicate with like music she liked. I mean, music is, you can listen to music and it's cathartic and stuff, but like that's not enough. If you have issues, you need to like address them. As if I fucking know. But yeah, here I am using something even dumber in an even dumber way to. But then my excuse is it's lockdown and I can't. You can't see anyone, can you? Can't even get a fucking doctor's appointment for non-COVID related things, for medical stuff. Like, my hand's kind of fucked up. But I wonder how long this plague is going to last. Like, how funny. I mean, we could all go extinct from this shit. It mutates in the mink farm or something and we all die. And then some alien finds this stream of, like, why is this guy playing an old video game and talking over it? But yeah, my point is, how long is this plague going to last on Earth? I want it done. I want to go out again. I'm fucking tired of it. I hate this stupid bullshit, this fake stoicism that you're not even allowed to complain that it sucks. It's like me. I think people are seeing it as any complaint that the lockdown sucks is like a declaration of intent to break the lockdown. I think that's how people take it, or you're spreading anti-lockdown sort of hysteria that will poison other people and cause them to. And it's like, no, fuck you. I'm going to stay in. I'm going to wear a mask, but I want to fucking at least be able to whinge about it. That's like anything in life. I'll put up a lot of shit as long as I can at least complain. But yeah. So yeah, I guess this area is like the crew quarters of the SS Anne because it's all like sailors and fishermen who I assume are the game is saying, oh, they're like people who like the boats and sea, so they must work here or live here. Or maybe they're like the cheap seats, like, hey, I'm only going in to fish, I don't need a nice view. But again, they haven't caught anything they couldn't catch in Kanto, so it's a waste of fucking money if you ask me. And yeah, why can't you just buy SS tickets? SS ticket's kind of weird. Sounds like a ticket to join the Nazis or something. I mean, Contra made that joke before me, but we've been talking about Nazis today. That's what reminded me. See, I want to use Leech Life, but I just can't risk fainting. The Tenta line annoys the shit out of me because they're poison water, and so grass doesn't, because they get a bit of resistance to grass because of the poison. So really only electric and psychic hurt them. But early on, where you start encountering tentacles all the time, you don't really have much psychic stuff. And if you haven't got a Pikachu, you even don't have a lot of electric. And they do annoying trolley shit like constrict and stuff. Combined with how prolific they are when you're surfing across the sea, it's just all tentacles in Generation 1. People fucking hate them. I think they're worse than Zubats. People dunk on Zubats, but at least you occasionally get a Geodude to break up the monotony. But I think the tentacle situation is far worse. They annoy me. And their design is so, like, they're so hostile. Look at their mean fucking little faces. And it's like, just fuck off, I'm just trying to swim. Just get out of my face. Because in real life, jellyfish aren't really, like, fully sentient, right? Like, they don't have eyes, they're not fish. They're like, kind of almost like plants or whatever, I don't know. So it's like, you kind of, as much as they're annoying and you hate them and they kill people and they suck, like, you kind of accept that it's just, like, there's no malice there. But the moment you make it a sentient creature, but it's still an annoying dick like a real one is, there's a lot more intention behind it, and so they're much more hateable. So yeah, you've made a jellyfish worse than a regular jellyfish. Like, you've made jellyfish worse, if that's possible, you know? So yeah, fuck tentacles. Ironically, I'm going to end up catching one, aren't I? Because you can only get one in each area, and they're common as hell, so I'm doubtlessly going to end up with one. It'd be funny if a Tentacruel ended up on my, like, final team. Currently nameless Bellsprout. I'm so glad I sped this part up because it was literally like an hour of just like grinding these dudes whereas we've kind of made it most of the way through. Managed to get a couple of good rants in, which we should be saving for my podcast really, but that's a way away, as I'll hopefully have more topical shit to talk about. I hate confusion. Unless it's like, it's one of those things where it's done to them, it's fine, it's a viable strat. When it's done to you, it's bullshit, it's hacks, it's cheap. But it seems like, it annoys me that it hurts so much. Like, I can understand being super confused and you're trying to like hurt your opponent, but I don't know how you get so confused you'd aim at yourself. Like, you know where your own body is, right? And you'd have to like consciously aim something away and like put a spin on it so it comes back at you. I don't get how that really works. And if you are just like tripping over your dick or whatever and falling on your face, that shouldn't hurt as much as like using your regular attack. It hurts too much, I think, the confusion. I'd rather it like lasted longer. I don't know. Well, I don't know. If I'd tweak it, would be just because I don't like it. But they always snap out of it, and I can never work out how it works with sleeping as well. Like, you confuse them, they hit you, you sleep them, it's like, oh, I should have just slept them. But you hope that when they wake up, they'll have the confusion at least. But it's unreliable for catching wild Pokemon, because they might bat themselves to death, or it might be pretty useless. Whereas something like Leech Seed, though, is more reliable, but then it can actually kill them when you don't want it to, if they keep breaking out of the ball. I miss having fast balls and time balls. I always assume Gen 3 is newer than it is, and it has all these features. Obviously you don't expect red and blue to have them, but Leech Seed is such a pain in the ass. Right. Switch back. Yeah, he's exploiting recover, and by exploiting it I mean using it fair and square. I don't really understand how rapid spin works, to be totally honest with you. I don't know if it increases damage or there's any variable to it. I can just land a couple of these Razor Leafs, he's fucking dead. Maybe one. I don't really understand why Z's or Z's, whatever, depending where you're from, like symbolic of sleeping. Is it because snoring is like, is it like kind of sounds like that? I never really got it. Or is it like because it's at the end of the alphabet, like it's the end of the day, the end of the, like something to do at the end? Never really understood. Because it's not like snore is spelled with a Z, like schnorr, and it's like short for that. Maybe I'll look that up. I'll probably forget. In the next 7 minutes I'll have forgotten, but otherwise I'll look it up. You're walking the plank. These motherfuckers think they're pirates. I think every sailor kind of wishes they were a pirate. I think every sailor or fisherman in the world is kind of like, I was born in the wrong era. I have no experience of any of that, no proof, no friends that do real jobs like that. But that's my just assumption that I'm sticking to. But my phone is fucked. I can't even look stuff up on my phone. I need to fix it. It will take like 2 seconds. And yet, I can't be bothered to do it. I'd rather narrate or play Pokemon. Not very effective. At least you slow down. Okay, yeah, Z is an onomatopoeic representation of snoring. It was commonly used in media where sound effects are not an option, such as comic books. So I guess was correct. You probably knew that already. It's like, yeah, why are you telling us shit like this? But whatever. I kind of like Bullet Seed. It's such a stupid move, but it's fun. See, that's what I was talking about, Leech Seed being weird and like not really making sense. Like, do these seeds jab into you and how does that work? But like, at least with Bullet Seed, it's like you were just chucking fucking seeds at their face. Like, ow, who throws a seed? Yeah, they call jellyfish jellyfish, but I think Tentacool is called like the jellyfish Pokemon, whereas funny enough, they have a instance of that. Because in the early Pokemons, they kind of had regular animals too, like this fish in a tank, and there's a little image of a Ekans strangling fighting a mongoose at some point, which is weird. I don't know why they like did that, but what was my bloody point? Pokemon, real animals. Fuck, I had some reason for the anecdote. Oh yeah, the jellyfish. Right, so there's a fix. They apparently in the Pokemon movie, the first movie which we all saw as kids, and then there was a big drop off. I saw a girl's Tinder profile once that was like, I've seen more Pokemon movies than is acceptable to admit, which is hilarious. Because I remember watching the third movie as like an older teen or a tween. I think someone actually had bought it for me, to be fair, because they still knew I was like some kind of nerd, even though I wasn't really into Pokemon. I can't remember the timeline exactly. But I watched it and I remember being like, yeah, I'm too old for Pokemon. And maybe the third movie was just bad or something. But I think I still got Mewtwo Returns after that. Because it's like Mewtwo in that movie was actually the first one. I remember liking Mewtwo and stuff. He was like cool as far as Pokemon go. Even when you start to think Pokemon are uncool, he's like, people like him in like other games and stuff. But yeah, I remember not liking the third one much and just feeling I was too old for Pokemon. But so I wonder how many that chick actually watched, because there's like 12 now, I think, and so she maybe watched like 6 of them or something would be enough to say that. Yeah, I always forget the Nidorans have Peck, devastating attack, like he didn't crit. I lost my cut guy. Right, so Jesus, I'm really getting off track here. So the reason I brought that up is in that movie they did a CGI remake of the first movie, because I think they're going to use Mewtwo in other stuff. I mean, they're always using Mewtwo and stuff, and it's been a long time since this movie, so it makes sense. I think Mew's even been in another movie and Mewtwo hasn't. So they brought Mewtwo back and they did some stuff like they made it feed into the second Mewtwo movie in a way that the first one never did because it was made so long before. And they like changed some dialogue and stuff. Like there's a scene where a Pikachu zaps a golem, which isn't really possible by the game mechanics, so they changed it to be something other than a golem this time. And then like, yeah, there's a reference to seagulls in the first one, just harmlessly, because like it's still like it's supposed to be like the real world, and animals still must fill these niches, but there wasn't really a seagull Pokemon at the time, and there's now is in later gens called Wingull, but even though it's set back before they had, I guess, started discovering these Pokemon, they changed the reference to be Wingulls. But it's funny that this was quite recent relatively, whereas I guess the jellyfish reference to Tentacool is Fire Red's a lot older. But it just reminded me of that. I thought that was kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, there's precedent because they already had like the Togepi before they had really got to the Gold and Silver arc, you know. I think accepted there was more Pokemon out there. But again, it's weird. It's like I said earlier about the games, it's like they seem to act like Pokemon have only just been discovered. Like species can't really come into existence that quickly, and even if it's like, it makes sense like Ash is traveling to a new area and hasn't seen the animals there, but like there should still be like books and internet with them on, and the people in those areas would have been studying them for longer. It doesn't really make sense. They want to have that you're an explorer discovering shit feeling, but they're trying to do it in an industrialized world, you know, that doesn't really, it's not consistent. But again, game for 10-year-old children. So yeah, looks like SSN is multiple parts. There's just so many trainers on here, but I think we're about halfway or more. Probably more. No rival to beat. Actually kind of concerned it's lost footage or something. But that wouldn't be the end of the world because it's all just trainers. We already beat the rival. Getting cut is a foregone conclusion. There's a great ball in the trash. That's about it, actually. I'll see what the next part contains right now. And if there's a seeming skip in the narrative, it's not because I cheated. It's because I'm trying to speed up the footage. I think I've cut it in half, which is weird. Yeah, I think I know what's happened, actually. I did try to cut the footage in half before I knew about speeding it up. So God knows what I did with the second half, because I only seem to have this one numbered as this entry. The fuck? Whose Nidoran is this? Is this where it pecks me? I feel like this is an earlier battle. I feel like the footage just jumped back. That was in the last few seconds. I'm confused. Yeah, that footage totally jumped back on its own. Yeah, these guys. Well, yeah, that's definitely the end of this part anyway. So we'll see from here. See you next time.